Let's go!
Vadi's usually the best for these. I like giving him shout outs whenever I possibly can because he does a very good job at being concise with all this information. There might be a lot of stuff in the lower part of here that I don't need to watch, which you guys can watch. So let me just check out the Vadi video, video for the beginning part, the gameplay part, which is where I'm the most curious.
A couple of days ago, From Software revealed the Duskbloods, which is coming exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2 sometime in 2026. And while it shares Bloodborne's aesthetic, it's not a single-player experience. No, you wouldn't know it from the trailer, but it's actually a PvPvE game, meaning you'll not only be fighting against environmental enemies, but also 7 other players as well. Just today, a new interview dropped, and it's revealed a ton of new details about
Just a heads up, I am not entirely against that, you know, because it also makes it Bloodborne-like while not being Bloodborne-like, you know? I'm sort of okay with it. It's obviously Tarkov-inspired, obviously, because even Miyazaki has talked about that in the past. Again, it isn't Bloodborne, we know, but at the same point, it does share several elements that FromSoft games have not had, except Bloodborne, with this game, and blood is in the title. There's already obviously a wink and a nod happening here that I'm still willing to give Miyazaki the benefit of the doubt. As a reminder, Miyazaki isn't the direct director of Night Rain. This is a kind of different situation, you know, kind of a different situation. Does this mean that I don't want there to be a Bloodborne? No. Absolutely not. Do I think this adequately acts like, oh, this is your spiritual new Bloodborne game? Well, no, not really, but it does just leave me sort of happy. Bloodborne never left their psyche. After they were finished with Bloodborne, it never left their consciousness in the same way that it never left our consciousness over the past 10 years.
So here's what I've learned from this trailer and the interview with director Hidetaka Miyazaki as well. Let's begin with the setting. So, according to Miyazaki, the game's setting is not locked to a specific location
Good music choice.
Or time period. There are classic maps with Gothic or Victorian atmospheres, yes, but also maps with a late modern feel.
And this late modern feel, my dude, this shit is like a different map that feels like it's straight out of Lies of P. If this is this way, it feels straight out of Lies of P. Feels so corporate. We want Battle Royale and Tarkov game, make it happen. My dude, Miyazaki is the CEO. He's the CEO of the company. Like, it doesn't feel corporate. He has gone on record before, years ago, saying that he loves the idea of Tarkov. Again, Miyazaki's the guy that created some of the most brutally difficult and obtuse-ass games ever, right? But he's also the guy that built in systems where you're supposed to play them online and you're supposed to help each other. The entire point of Demon's Souls is that you work with other people to solve these funky-ass obtuse problems, and then you work together. It's about working together in some way. Most people don't want to do that because they just want to experience the offline Souls experience, which is literally me. But these games are no shit. Every single one of them not designed to be that way outside of like maybe like Sekiro. The whole point is that you're supposed to leave messages and assist and work together or pursue, you know, like that's the whole design philosophy behind this shit. Being like, oh, what about a Tarkov game, which is all about literally the same shit. It's all about like working together or not working together and getting out of there like with resources and stuff. It sounds sort of like it lines up.
Maps with a late modern feel, featuring elements like trains, as was briefly seen in the trailer. Our characters are a part of the Bloodsworn, a clan with superhuman abilities that have been gained through the power of special blood.
The Bloodborne hunters were directly inspired by Brotherhood of the Wolf, right? I saw that movie in theaters. Directly inspired by Brotherhood of the Wolf. This looks like The Crow. This looks like this guy's almost from The Crow. The movie's mid as shit, don't get me wrong. The movie's not that good. Looks like it's some Brandon Lee shit going on right here. To me, wouldn't he be surprised if he has like white makeup on his face or some shit like that?
Akin to vampires in a general sense, but with more of a romantic focus on their actual bloodline.
No, Jesus Christ, Chad, so many people. Crow, my dude. From the 90s? The Crow. Dude that died during the movie, The Crow. Not whatever the hell you were thinking, not the reboot, you know? Brandon Lee's literal final movie.
Their accumulated history, their inherited power, their fate, and what it means to surpass humanity. To some characters, apparently surpassing humanity means strapping a jetpack onto your back and zooming off into the sunset. To other characters, it's being able to ride a headless horse or jump over an entire city. You'll notice all of these player
Big mobility
abilities seem to enable their traversal of the map, which are abilities that I'd wager will be really important in a game like this, where 8 of you are going to be fighting inside of what looks like a very large, intricate world. Some other character abilities we've seen are more combat-based, and they seem to...
Again, what's the thing that potentially doesn't have me on board with this? Fighting other humans, man. Like, I play fighting games and shit, dude, where like the quality of the online combat, I've had like the best of it, and whenever I've tried to engage in any kind of Souls PvP, I'm like, this sucks. Even when the connection's good, I'm like, this kind of sucks. It's a little weird. Having a game be built around the idea of you specifically being PvP in some way, it's less intrinsic and less exciting inherently than Night Rain, because Night Rain's about you teaming up with people and fighting mobs. So I'm like, oh, that's fine. That works fine. That has worked fine. Fighting other people online in Souls games is a little funky.
Match the aesthetics of the characters using them as well. That's important, I think. This young boy, for example, can levitate, and he has psychic abilities that allow him to lift nearby foes and slam them into the ground. And that matches his aesthetic.
It's not easy to get right, yeah.
Duskblood over here wields a saber and an assault rifle.
This guy's straight out of Bloodborne.
Pretty damn elegant
John Duskblood.
He's floating and firing through the air. My point is that clearly...
Guy literally has a gun and a sword. Like, he is John Duskborn.
All of these are preset characters that one can choose to play. And indeed, Miyazaki confirms and expands on this point, pointing out that there are well over 10 named characters that you can choose from to play. He then elaborates, stating that while these are distinct characters, players can customize each character's blood history and fate to a certain extent.
That must be for abilities.
So you can tweak aspects of your character, like their abilities, their techniques, their appearance, their inner traits, their roles within the world.
But not their physical appearance, most likely. I think that's the whole point, is that that's another thing that throws a lot of people off about Night Rain, even threw people off about Sekiro, is that you can't change their physical appearance very much, like the way they look.
Their relationships with other characters, apparently. There's one feature I find the most fascinating though, and that's the roles system. I think it's something that Miyazaki has been cooking up for a while. So few people know about this article, but 2 years ago,
this is what I was talking
went on
about.
Record expressing an interest in Escape from Tarkov, of all things. It's this brutal, high-stakes battle royale game where players are dropped into a hostile world that's filled with other scavengers, and you have to fight to survive and loot. And Miyazaki said he was interested in how the player themselves in games like this could be one of the resources for the gameplay.
Clearly inspired.
Now, with the addition of roles in the Duskbloods, I think we finally see what Miyazaki meant by players becoming a resource. So basically, when you join a game in the Duskbloods, the system will assign you a special role or mission, which Miyazaki says can create unique relationships between players. So a player with the destined rival role, for example, will have another player marked as their rival, and so defeating them will become a personal objective for you.
Like a contract.
Another example would be the fated companion role, where a player can seek out the one marked as their companion in return for special rewards. Apparently, roles like this can be set through the same bloodline customization we mentioned earlier, and Miyazaki likes this because it allows players to engage in literal role-playing with their character.
Yeah, this is emergent gameplay shit. This is the whole point of the reason why these games act the way they do, is so that your interactions and the way you play each round, each run, whatever the hell they're going to call it, it's not the same. And in fact, you'll try to get the familiarity, you'll try to be familiar with it. But the whole point is that there's wrenches thrown into the mix constantly to make sure that your game plan is sort of like disrupted and you have to come up with a new plan. You know, that's fun. That's always fun to do that.
Which he thinks will add a layer of drama to the gameplay. That's a pretty original idea. I like it. So, while the basic goal is, somewhat predictably, to be the sole survivor in your pool of 8 other players, your victory condition can change. Defeating a formidable boss can become the victory condition as well, for example. Apparently, it's even possible to win a game by avoiding direct combat and earning enough victory points. Clearly, while this is a PvP game, you don't need to be a PvP god to succeed.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. If they make a game that has it, but you don't have to engage it in that way, it seems like a very streamery game. I was thinking the exact same thing, dude. Because if it is extraction based, like the whole point is for you, the rat mode, yeah. Rat mode. This is going to be the kind of game that's going to make me want to engage though, right? I'm really wondering how mechanically speaking this shit will work, because typically the way FromSoft games sort of like operate sort of revolve around pretty kind of precise timing of how shit works, and that stuff is very delayed, man. Those engagements, and even like when Elden Ring connections are good and stuff, it's like you're going for backstabs and shit and doing the animations and they're just jumping out of it, and it's like, this is weird looking, dude. So to me, it's like, I wonder if the engagements are going to be revolved completely around that, like very pinpoint, precise timing shit, because their net play just doesn't support it.
I think that's an important point. It's also worth pointing out that Miyazaki says every character has some means of attacking distant targets, which is a distinguishing feature compared to their other titles. They've also included partner-like entities that each player can summon, not unlike the Spirit Ash summons in Elden Ring that help you with
they look more unique, though.
PvE encounters. And remember, there are going to be PvE encounters in this game as well. Unlike Night Rain, which seems to be drawing really heavily from pre-existing enemies and models and animations, everything we've seen in this so far seems to be very unique and very original.
I mean, it's unique and original as much as it is Bloodborne is unique and original. You know, like there's just a lot of visual shit going on here. Mr. Big Dog Guy with a giant amount of like, you know, wolf-like hair all over the place wielding a weapon. I mean, dude, it's literally just a Bloodborne boss. It's the cleric beast, but he's like more bipedal. I don't get it, dude.
Unique and very original.
Blide, that too.
So when you die against these enemies, or defeat the main boss, or achieve
Blide
your
was an
victory
actual
condition,
dog,
or fail your victory condition, whatever that is, you'll return to your base. A hub world, like the Hunter's Dream, for example, where players will receive rewards from their previous run, and then can use those rewards to further customize their characters.
So if it's the same shit with Night Rain, if this shit works, it's going to be addictive as fuck. And I almost like, I trust Miyazaki. Like, I think I inherently just give him the benefit of the doubt way more often than I will in general. Night Rain was something that seemed a little weird, and then you don't really get it in the first couple of matches, but the first few matches later, it kind of clicks, and it's like, oh yeah, well, I clearly don't want to play the same map over and over again, but it clicked. There was a moment where it's like, ooh, we're getting some cool stuff out of this, and we're actually getting stronger. By the beginning of it, I'm like, this sort of sucks, and then by the end of it, I was like, this is kind of awesome. So it had a growth period. If this immediately has not that growth period, if this immediately has like, oh, I get it in like the first round or two, and it does engage in that way, then it's like, all right.
In this place, Miyazaki specifies that this winged rat actually serves a role that's similar to the Firekeepers in Dark Souls. Voiced as an elderly gentleman, this rat offers guidance and advice to the protagonist. In the interview, Miyazaki brings up this rat as a instance where they tried to incorporate a touch of Nintendo's charm into the game.
What? No, Miyazaki's not the director of Night Rain. He's like, I think an overall producer or something, executive producer. What? Nintendo charm?
Which I feel you can definitely see in some of the more fantastical elements.
Considering the technical issues of FromSoft games, are you a little worried that it might be rough? My dude, I've played Bloodborne countless times. I've beaten Bloodborne almost more than I've beaten any game I've ever played. And the game runs at like 25 fucking frames per second on PS4. If the game's like legit fun, then they're good. If it's fun, they're good. A really good game will shine through bad technical issues. Like that has proven to be true. Ocarina of Time exists. So I think if their conceptual here is, if it is that powerful enough to make an entire game that is this way, then yeah, dude, like the good game will shine through. The hope is that it doesn't stay in that shit state forever. We don't want it to be this way forever. We want it to eventually get, you know, a proper amount of comeuppance and get a proper version that makes it better over time or some shit, you know?
Though clearly they're still going for a disturbing vibe with this game. This smiling toad will haunt my dreams tonight. To
be honest, outside of like technical performance, which is something that FromSoft isn't notoriously great at, the other thing that I'm most concerned about outside of frog tits here is the netcode, the online. How much will the online have an impact on everything? Yo, Moonflare, thanks for the 5 gift subs, dude. How much will the online have an impact on PvP and that kind of stuff? Because it has not been great in the past, especially for a game that's focused on it.
This smiling toad will haunt my dreams tonight. Oh, and it wouldn't be a 3-minute From Software trailer without me overanalyzing the lore, would it?
Yeah, this isn't how... There's already a lot of Bloodborne-isms in here, because vampires were already a thing that was in Bloodborne. Like, Canehurst exists, you know? So,
in the intro, a woman lays slumped, same as the man, who, you'll note, still clasps a bottle in one hand. It's one of many strewn around the room. Then the woman raises a trembling hand.
I like it how, just based on the first 2 shots and the lingering hand and shit, and I'm like, this is some Miyazaki artistic horse shit. Like, immediately. I'm like, this is FromSoft shit. Here we go. I could tell by just the first 2 shots and how long the shots linger that, oh, this is some FromSoft shit. Get ready. You don't even need to see anything else. It's just like the way they direct their scenes. Like the feel is there immediately. It's like, oh, is this Castlevania? No, this is not Castlevania, dude. And as soon as the characters started talking, the girl started talking, it was like, oh, it's FromSoft 100%. Here we go. Well, I don't know what we're looking at, but here we go.
I give you my blood. I give you my life.
The mark she leaves behind is a...
Dude, is she also wearing a red dress? I mean, I'm just gonna say it. It's very Ariana-like already. Copium? Dude, literally red dress. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying it's not that it is that different. It's not that it's that different. She literally gives you blood.
Wheel. And with this final act, she dies.
Turn, O wheel. And
not saying it is Ariana. I'm saying that's intentional.
To a night of moonlight.
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that's intentional.
To humanity's very dusk.
Now, I assume, we're transported to humanity's twilight, a time when the era of humans is coming to an end. Later in the trailer, we're addressed as the bearer of the blood that the woman gave us in the beginning.
I pray that you are able.
It's not Bloodborne, yep.
Carrier of blood.
And this next narrator doesn't think that we have much longer in this place.
Close your eyes and contemplate now the moon.
Yeah, there's a time limit. That's all it's I'm getting out of this, is that it is a time limit.
As befits the soon to depart.
Yeah,
because
you can't live here for very long.
Can come out on top.
Yeah.
According to the interview, we're engaged in a conflict over an entity known as the First Blood.
The moon tears will flow for one, and one alone.
Okay, I wasn't sure what to think of this game, but this new interview does have me excited. If nothing else though, I'm excited to help bring the lore of all of these characters to you guys come release.
The only
That said,
problem with the
while I
lore
am
is that if you're
excited-
going to pick up shit and you're going to have to read it, you're going to have to do it on borrowed time. If that there is lore to be found in here, but my dude, you're going to be like in a map where people are going to be trying to rip your balls off as a resource. it's a bit different than like, oh, I'm just thinking about what's going on here. Like, you know, getting destroyed by some rando.
I'd like to try and talk a little bit more objectively about what this game represents, because I think it will represent very different things to From Software, to Nintendo, and to the average consumer as well. I think that to From Software, this game represents an opportunity to experiment. As stated in the interview, Miyazaki wants to make clear that this does not represent a shift in
I don't get the impression that this is just what they're going to do from this point forward, especially considering the last 2 games now of theirs are like multiplayer endeavors, specifically multiplayer endeavors. But dude, they've been making these style of games since Demon's Souls for the most part. And I get it, Armored Core is probably the biggest deviant of that, but still, like, we have all these devs doing kind of the exact same shit for a very long time and just making the next one a bit different, a bit better, like all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's more like, I think they would like the room to try to do something different, a little bit different creatively. All we're going to get now is a joint collaboration. We're going to get, yes, you nailed it, Cookies and Cream 2. We're going to get something very different, Cookies and Cream 2, a Miyazaki experience.
focus for From Software. This is a multiplayer game, so is Night Rain, but they intend to continue actively creating single-player focused games like Elden Ring. That's still the goal, that's still what they're about. But we all know that every big single-player game that FromSoft makes, whether it's Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Bloodborne, every iteration on that Souls formula has a piece of the DNA from the games that came before it. So while this isn't the big single-player announcement that everyone was hoping for, that will inevitably come. And when it does, I bet that we're going to start seeing the DNA of the Duskbloods and the DNA of Night Rain appearing in that game as well. FromSoft's main games are really additive. They incorporate so much from what they've learned previously.
Everyone,
that is what
they never backtread, you know? Like we're watching that sort of happen right now with like Doom, and we still don't know because we haven't played a ton of it, but like Doom is moving in a different direction than obviously more forward. So that is true. Like almost every single game after Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3 was very much inspired by Bloodborne. The future games beyond it to all the way to like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is pretty much, the culmination of everything. So New Doom looks great. It does, but it is obviously going for something different. But that's the opposite, you know?
Because personally, I'm someone who's always loved multiplayer in FromSoft games. I love the adrenaline that comes from being invaded and invading other people, and I love the co-op experience that's come from the PC multiplayer mods that Luke Huey has developed.
That stuff's probably great. I don't. I feel like the multiplayer distracts me from the game design and FromSoft games. I know that is an unpopular opinion because these are, for the majority of people that play Souls games, they engage with them like they're multiplayer Call of Duties. Like the amount of people that play them in this way to show off their crazy build to go beat up people and shit, like no kidding, like these are quite literally big Call of Duty releases in terms of multiplayer and scale. And that is just not me at all because so much of the game is just like watching and listening and learning and figuring out what the devs have set up for us in this like world, which is why the multiplayer is still an option, which is why you cannot only go to an exclusive online mode. It's online or offline. That's why I'm curious about this, but also like slightly hesitant of a game that is strictly multiplayer focused.
That said, the PvP and co-op experiences of FromSoft games,
They suck.
has always felt a little bit half-baked.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that they're taking the chance to really learn how to make a good multiplayer.
Yeah. Take the dissected eye from the man place it in your butthole, count back from 10 during a full moon, and you can now play co-op.
Play a game with the Duskbloods and Night Rain, because I think their future work will benefit from it. This game in particular isn't going to have the widespread appeal that Elden Ring or even Night Rain has. It can't. It's a console exclusive, but I bet there's a creative freedom in that for From Software. Not to mention a financial freedom as well.
Dude, you got to imagine, here's my complete theoretical idea of what happened here. FromSoft is like, hey, we want to do Bloodborne 2 or something Bloodborne again. And that officiating era of Sony, which we're currently living through, you know, the fallout of, was like, no, how about you do this instead? No, we're not looking for that. How about you give us this? And they're like, well, that didn't work out. Nintendo, listen, we want to do this really specific kind of like multiplayer game, right? Would you be cool with it? Nintendo's like, okay, yeah, sure. Whatever. Wait, can you put it on our new system? Yeah, okay. Whatever you want. They're probably like, you guys can do whatever you want if you make it exclusive, dude. Whatever the hell you want. Just whatever you want it to be, you do it. If it's only on our system, whatever. Yeah, bro, go ahead. We'll work with you. Here's all this money and shit. That probably feels like what happened in terms of the freedom of making a weird ass game like this, because they were likely fighting back in the form of, hey, we want a PvPvE extraction game. We don't know yet, but let's just say we want a PvPvE extraction game without any of the crazy additive monetization bullshit that could potentially come with that genre. We don't know if this game has that or not. We don't know. It very well could, but it would be extremely non-FromSoft-like if that did happen. You know, just speaking frankly, it would make more sense if this is a full-priced multiplayer game in some way, and there's no extra bells and whistles that you can attach or detach to it, right? That's the exact opposite of what Sony would want. They would want a game that you could pay for and then also have all the attachment to, right? The game that would not just come out and be supported for a little while. No. We want a game that would come out and be supported for the next decade. You have to be ready to support it for the next decade, because it's going to be a service that you're going to be providing, and you're going to be working on this until you're 90, like that kind of shit, you know? There was probably a pretty big disconnect in terms of they would have kept it on PlayStation because they already have that relationship. But Nintendo was like, no, we'll let you do whatever you want. And if you just give it to us, you get even more. You can do whatever you want. That's my complete theoretical idea of what brought us to a Bloodborne-like on a Nintendo system.
Nintendo is helping to fund this game. So yeah, that probably helps a bit for them as well. As for how Nintendo benefits, well, getting an exclusive From Software game is a great way for them.
And if it has all the bonus DLC and battle passes and all that horse shit
passionate fans
to monetize the shit out of you way beyond the initial asking price, then I'm just completely wrong.
People also
you know?
see Nintendo consoles as very
Jim Ryan was the hero we all deserved.
But a good dose of gothic horror ought to fix that. And since the Duskbloods is a multiplayer game, it's also a way for Nintendo to say, hey look, the Switch has a big multiplayer focus this time around. And I bet that has a lot of value to them. Now, most importantly, how does all of this benefit the consumer? And see, that's the really cool thing. It doesn't. You lose. I was always going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2.
Oh yeah.
I have a young child.
If he's getting into the Switchness of it.
I like enough Nintendo games to justify it. It's a decent investment. But I know a lot of From Software fans weren't getting this console, and now, if they want to play this new From Software title, they have to justify the purchase of an expensive console. Not to mention a monthly subscription to Nintendo.
This is everybody with console exclusives. This is the same conversation I had with people in 2013 when Killer Instinct was only coming out on the Xbox. This is near the exact same conversation.
Online. Not to mention having to buy games that have now somehow become even more expensive.
Yup.
None of this is good for the average consumer. The only comfort is that this isn't going to be the next big new single-player experience that From Software are known for. So, for many FromSoft fans, missing the Duskbloods likely isn't that big of a deal. And that's still a shame. The only consumer positive thing I can think of right now is that this game might not exist at all without Nintendo paying for exclusive rights.
And that is the difference. Exclusivity sucks. Nobody wants it to be this way. But just like Bayonetta 2, it is either game that's exclusive or no game. And to me, obviously, anybody with a sound mind is going to choose like game. Yeah, of course, it's nice that it exists in some way, even though it's not on the system that you want. This is like people getting extremely, this is the same energy of people getting really pissed off that Final Fantasy is no longer on PlayStation. It's the same kind of shit where it's like, no, this needs to be exclusive just for me or on the thing that I have, you know? It can only be for me, you know?
And if it's an excellent game, well, then people will give Nintendo and FromSoft a lot of grace for that. There's a lot of negativity surrounding the game right now, but watch all of that change if it's an excellent game. I mean, look at Bloodborne. That's a masterpiece, and so not that many people get mad about it being a console exclusive when they really should.
No, that's not true. No, that is not true. In fact, it is arguably the number one thing that everyone is upset about, that Bloodborne is still stuck on a PS4. That is, it's in fact the antithesis of that people are big mad that it's only on this ancient system and it's never been enhanced or upgraded or ported or anything. What the hell, dude?
Sony gets a lot of goodwill for having helped bring
and it's the fact that it is so good that it's insane that it's still stuck to this ancient ass hardware.
This work of art into existence, though they've been squandering it recently. But that's another topic entirely. Speaking of other topics, there's an updated version of Elden Ring coming to the Nintendo Switch.
All right, thanks for Vadi for the summary. Either way, I'm still anticipating it, right? I'm still excited. It's a while out, dude. We're thinking, oh man, Donkey Kong is like a month or something away from the launch. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Donkey Kong, but dude, this shit is like years. This shit is quite a bit of time from being released. So it's one of those games where, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore that it exists for a little while. I am just going to put it on the back burner. There's plenty of other things that are happening. It's 2026. It's possibly not going to launch that year. I would not be surprised if it doesn't even make its release date that year. So we'll see. You know, we shall see.